I worked as a light board operator alongside the production staff for the BBC television series Jigsaw from 1979 to 1984, so I was present throughout much of the show's airing. Clive Owen, who is now retired, was the director and writer. The show was hosted by Adrian Headley, a meme artist who had performed several roles in the show, including a sinister character named Mr. Nosybonk, who is seen a prominent nose and a toothy grin and offset circular eyes. Nosybonk always struck me as somewhat of a frightening character, but I never really opened opposed to the idea, since I wasn't really entirely in charge of the production. The show had overall a cheery mood and guided viewers in puzzle-solving skills, so the cast was most friendly and inviting, but there was a moment that dreaded my job. On May 1st of 1984, a week after the final episode was aired, I was invited back to the studio by Clark Andrew, the set designer. After some time, he coaxed me into the viewing room, which, of course, despite the fact that there was a full production of the show that has ceased and most of the cast and crew were now packing up. He told me that he needed to air one final episode of the series before it was too late. I nodded, somewhat confused, but I did not question his motives. As usual, the screen started and the opening sequence began the episode, but by the end of the song, there was now nothing but a complete darkness. "What's this?" I asked. "What's going on?" Clark looked at me with a condescending stare and turned his attention back to the screen. "Do not question," he responded. Suddenly there appeared a Nosybonk, playing a miniature golf footage from a previous episode. The film had been corrupted and appeared shoddy and converted into a vintage B&W. I remained silent as the audio did on the film and continued to watch nervously. However, the video stopped abruptly and the tape was ejected. Clark motioned for me back outside and locked the viewing room, and greeted me with a farewell. When he drove off, however, my curiosity got the best of me. I went back inside the studio through the front door and attempted to break down the viewing room door, but to no avail. One of the remaining cast members suddenly approached me from the corridor and offered to unlock it for me. "There you go," she said. "Don't forget to lock it on your way out." Now alone, I peeked inside and grabbed the tape on the topmost storage shelf. Before slipping into the VCR, I dusted off and I sat near the door in case if I need to make a brief escape. The film started once again, as Clark had previously shown me, but it continued further after the supposed ending point. At this point, a faint humming began, but the film still remained quiet. The scene then changed suddenly and showed Nosybonk at the dinner table in a dimly lit room, a knife sitting alongside him on the table. Nosybonk looked at the screen briefly, before setting his head down onto the table. The film remained this way for at least a good 30 seconds, before it switched to a new scene, in which Nosybonk is now seen disproportionately, hopping backwards into the sack. Another scene emerged from it, but I could not make out what it was, except I could see someone Nosybonk's mask murmuring began some faint screams. I could be heard a quick flash as one of the cast members' faces appeared before the film ended. The tape ejected, and I was relieved, but I sat idle in my chair over for a good few minutes. When I had mustered the strength to physically grab the tape, I tossed it into the trash can nearby, ran straight out of the performance studio, and drove off into the distance. I have never returned. Not once, not ever. I once told my wife about the incident, and she was mostly skeptical. I've since to decide to disclose the information regarding the issue that have experienced what I would call a normal life. The episode was allegedly aired after their very obscure channel that was only available in localized areas, so as a result, went relatively unnoticed in 2009. A video containing the episode was uploaded briefly to YouTube, but removed upon the next day, as the internet discussion in 1995 claims were made of the alternative version of the series altogether may exist. The proposed set designer, Clark Andrew, was reportedly one of the few who remained in the studio after each filming. The tapes were labeled with particular codes and also can be found in Clark's office, but they were apparently discarded. They disappeared without a trace in 1985, the following year. Subsequently, another corrupted episode was reported to have been uploaded to a media site under a .mp4 file. And that, my little pretties, was Jigsaw BBC Revealed. Jigsaw, or I think you could call it Jigsaw BBC Lost Episode Creepypasta, written by Curly-BraceXD. My final thoughts on this story? Wow, I gotta say right now that this is actually one of the fewer creepypasta lost episodes that were actually pretty good. This, on the other hand, is actually one of the very fewer lost episode creepypastas that don't go out of their way and, throw in a bunch of unnecessary cliches, having everybody die at the end, and etc. Which I'm very impressed with that, because most creepypastas are really hard not to, write without sitting there and, adding these cliches. Now, this is an older story, so this was written, I believe, sometime in 2013 or maybe 2014, because this was actually one of the fewer lost episode pastas that were actually good before cliches became more, well, overused in a sense. Like, I mean, this is actually a pretty good pasta. Really messed up of how, everything went out. But I have to say, the detailing of this story was really well done. I mean, the sentence structuring worked out really well in the film. There's no run on sentences, or, there's places where periods should be, places that commas should be, and they were not all over the place like most lost episode creepypastas in a nutshell would be. But I can also definitely say that I really like how well this story was written. This story was written very well in the sense, and I really do like the fact that the story actually was really well written, because let's face it, people, most creepypastas are not really, well written nowadays. Unless if you really know what you're doing, or you go out of your way and make something really good and not include, a bunch of garbage cliches in the story, then yeah, I could definitely say that this one, for example, is a pretty damn well good one. Now, I really have to say that it is very well detailed, although it's a short story, because this one took me like 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes to narrate this one. But I still really like how the story went out. I mean, making a lost episode pasta nowadays is not really the easiest thing to do without sitting there and adding cliches, but I really do appreciate how well this story was well written. Like, I mean, to the author, who is Curly Brace, did an excellent job on writing this story, making it believable in a sense. Now, I have not seen Jigsaw BBC, so I don't really know the show or anything, so I don't know it, so I've never actually watched it or anything, but it is messed up with the concept and all that. Like, I mean, it's not scary. Like, there's no hyperrealistic blood or anything like that, because, this story was written sometime before creepypasta cliches became an issue. I mean, this story actually was pretty good. I actually seen a couple narrations of this one, like Seabass actually narrated this. Dave the Useless did narrate this about a few years ago. A lot of other narrators, a couple narrators actually narrated this one, and I have to say it's a pretty good pasta. Like, maybe it's not that scary like I wish it would have been, but it's still a pretty good story. Like, I mean, you don't have to make a lost episode very scary and messed up to the point where, you just add, unnecessary cliches. I mean, let's face it, people. Most creepypastas are doing that nowadays. Why are creepypastas nowadays still doing them? I don't know. But yeah, this is actually one of the fewer creepypastas that were actually good. They were not cliched, they were not, all over the place or anything like that. I mean, the story itself was really well done and detailed. And I mean, I love how this story had a really good conclusion to the ending and all that. But one thing that really has me wondering is that what media site that was this episode uploaded? Like, I know it says and states that it was an MP4 file, but we don't know what website that this episode was aired on, like the lost episode I described. It could be maybe on an episode site, some sort of, well, video site or something. I'm not sure. But that always makes me wonder about that. So that's always, been something that I've been always wanting to know. But I'm afraid we're not going to know unless the author describes what site it is on. But, I know it's a lost episode. So, yeah. Anyways, with that being the case, that being said, like I'm going to say right now, this is just simply my own personal opinion. You happen to disagree with me? That's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas. This is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. It's a really good story. It was definitely well written. It's a really good lost episode pasta. It wasn't cliched or anything like that because this is an older story. So there's definitely that. It's a really well written. The grammar is excellent. Same thing with how the story has been laid out, with grammar wise and all that. It's really well made and detailed. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into the story. But yeah. Anyways, with that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.